Hi. Machine and you.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, it seems to.
Yeah, okay. Oh, you will hear me without anything, given how many people are here. Yeah. I wasn't expecting the roaring crowds of 10,000s, but let's see. I know. Okay, this really doesn't hold on. Can I stick it here? Hey. And this should go here. hopefully it will work. So I will need that. Is it like normal that the cable is so short? Because I would really need to put it on the table or to be able to sit down to it. It's like weird. Okay. Well, okay. That will be interesting because I have a lot of demo and
Maybe you can. No, it's not. I don't know. It goes where it goes.
okay, let's put it like this. And if I sit on the chair here, well, better nothing, I suppose. Okay. And moreover, I have to. Oh, that will be interesting. Okay. Life is fun.
Bugzilla triage scripts. Okay. Right.
Okay. Minute to go. But yeah. So I don't know what to do with this, so I'll let it be here. I don't have seconds on the clock. So good afternoon. My name is Matěj Cepl. I'm from Red Hat, and apparently I destroyed my hat. Okay. Oh, hi. So I work on the desktop team as bug triager for X11 and Firefox Thunderbird stuff. When I came to the Red Hat, I found out that I will spend 8 hours a day at least sitting in front of bugzilla. And having this experience for a couple of years, I've made some observations about bugzilla. First, that bugzilla a little bit sucks. But actually, later when I was forced to work with some other issue tracking systems, I found out that it doesn't suck actually that much as it could. But that for serious long-time work, there are some things to be desired. So there is a lot of talk about how future is in web apps and how GNOME is hopeless because everybody will run everything from browser. So I have some experiences with web app, working on that for 4 years. 4 years it is. And so, first of all, like the preferences and possibility to configure it is pretty low. Although the bugzilla is much better than most of the web apps I've ever met, it is still by far not enough flexible if you want to do some serious work. Like every desktop application or most serious one have some extensions, plugins, stuff like that. Well, like most of web apps, just forget about it. Then the two later things I will just briefly mention because they are not that much focus of my talk. In the best of possible worlds, bugzilla should be probably kind of to-do list for developers, that in the morning you sit down to your computer, log into bugzilla, and go from the top of the most important, relevant bugs grouped according to which bugs relate to what. Well, that's not exactly how the bugzilla works. And that it needs to be always online. For example, I would love sometimes to work while commuting or, well, no luck. So I started, because I'm lazy, so first thing I started to do was looking what some other people do to make their life with bugzilla better. And so there is the thing called WHITE, which is the abbreviation of what I'm doing here. Is it correct? Which is kind of the tool used internally by Red Hat developers. One thing about the to-do list, where bugzilla is extremely not flexible, is if you need to take into the to-do list considerations from outside of the bugzilla. So if you are a Red Hat developer, then you have a lot of like deadlines and some other stuff which, well, we rather made a new tool for it. Then I tried and I played for some time with Milin, which is plugin to Eclipse, which makes life with bugzilla easier. And even though, fortunately, Red Hat is good to me, so I have enough RAM to run Eclipse, but still it wasn't exactly, I will show you. And then there is some stuff which was done on bugzillagnome.org. So this is white. Basically, it's pretty good in making the to-do list much better, much more useful for developers. I have no like enterprise bugs, so you don't see it, but it's ordered by like, this bug is hitting near to the deadline, you need to really fix it now and stuff like that. Otherwise, when you click on that bug number, you get to the just normal bugzilla show bug page. This is Milin with one bug. It's pretty good in like, you can make some orderings. You can say like, I will fix these bugs this week, next week, in a month. Don't even think about it. And you can group them. When you open the bug itself, which is what I'm most after, then you find out that actually it's not that much better. I think it's even worse than the bugzilla form. And the only extensions which are possible is just pull out your Java and you can program it yourself. You need to get a lot of Java to do, and I'm not big on Java. And so after all, I decided, no, that's not the way. There is some work done by folks at bugzillagnome.org that you have these buttons. They're pretty good, but they are unfortunately probably mostly useless for me because they can only, these comments and settings, the new status and stuff, but it is done on server side. So whatever change you need to do on server side, and to make it like different bugs for empathy and different bugs, buttons for evolution, you would have to do it server side. I'm not sure whether it is done. I decided that for me, when I am, yeah, I said that I'm part of the desktop team. The other part of me is that I work as one of the leaders of bug zappers, that's Fedora bug triagers. And we needed a tool which would be working for both for like kernel bug triage and network manager bug triage or evolution bug triage. You need basically very different tools for these different messages. So I decided that there are some things which needs to be done. First one, okay, so back to that kernel bug triage, that all those buttons and definitions of buttons should be outside of the script. They shouldn't be hardwired in the script, and so that everybody can download its own data file from anywhere on the web. So if you have any place on the web where you can put your file and make a URL which can be downloaded, you can make your own buttons for everything. When I was in that, I thought, well, why not to make it independent even of our like particular instance of bugzilla? I'm Red Hat, so our first instinct is to push the stuff upstream and to try to find some people who would be interested as well. So that was the other consideration. One of the experiences I had is that one thing which really doesn't work. It's pretty easy to make some small tools and to run them in terminal, like some script which downloads some log and analyzes it with grep or something. It can help a lot. But like switching to the other window and switching between the applications, I'm pretty bad in concentration, and like switching between the application is sure way to find out myself half an hour later that I'm doing something completely different and something which is useless. So I wanted to keep everything inside of the window. And my development, here are talks about design technology. Well, my design was that whenever I felt like I need some feature, that I switched to that other window and created a feature, which could lead to the pretty disastrous code, except I was doing like 4 rewrites of the whole thing. It started as a Grease Monkey script. Then Grease Monkey was not that cool, so because I wanted to, I had some users and I wanted to be able to make them updates. And the updates of Grease Monkey, I think, is pretty bad idea. So I switched to Jetpack. Then they suddenly decided, oh, this Jetpack is beautiful, but we will throw it out of the window and do something completely different. So that's what I'm doing. And so in the end, now I'm on the latest version of Jetpack. And actually, it seems to be much better than the previous Jetpack. And it seems to be much more sane than whatever I experienced so far. So now how to make them up. So first, don't pull out the cable. Second, we will try to, okay, so this guy should be minimized. This guy should be maximized. So this is just to show you how bugzilla looks without any other thing. This is how it looks when you log in, or actually even not log in into Red Hat bugzilla. Plain, good form, nothing much sexy about it. So this is how it looks when you are Fedora bug triager and you log into my system. First thing is that you have different backgrounds. That was one experience I had. I have to explain. I'm working on very wide variety of products. On the one hand, we have Fedora Rawhide, which if you are using Debian unstable, then you don't know what unstable means. Rawhide is like really raw, and there are days when it actually boots up. And so users of Fedora Rawhide are suspect to very rough treatment of the kind like, here is the patch and test it for me whether it helps. Well, you cannot do it with the blue background is for released Fedora, so you cannot do it to them. So at least you have to say, okay, here is the RPM scratch build, and if you would be so kind to test it to me. Then we have Red Hat Enterprise Linux, so of course that's even, you have to be very polite. And then we have bugs which are coming through the issue tracker, and that's even one level up. So I decided that, like, to keep background feeling of where I am, to be sure where I am, I found it pretty useful to have this different background. And when I did it, it looks much more cool as well. That's side effect. Okay, so this mark triaged. These all are buttons which are generated there according to that data file. So you can have whatever you want here. So for example, if I ask a reporter like whether this RPM fixed the problem, and he answers me, yes, please, wonderful, awesome, you fixed it, then I just hit this button. It makes the note, sets the proper, actually, whether it is next release or current release or rawhide, there is some more intelligence in that. And I can just hit submit.
So you're creating those in a data file?
Yeah. you have like functions, and you can say in the data file that this button will do these steps. I can show you the data file if you want. Another thing which I found incredibly useful is that all reporters' messages are colored as yellow, because that's another story. Many times, again, I ask whether this fixed the bug. And in 9 out of 10 situations, what happens is that somebody completely different jumps on the bug and said, "Yay, you fixed it, you are awesome." So I close the bug, and next comes the reporter and saying, "You bloody idiots, you don't care about Fedora users. Of course it is not fixed, and it's even more broken." So, like, to know who is actually reporting when you are going through many bugs, again, you have that background feeling that when it is not yellow, then it is slightly less relevant for your work. So, this is the basics as it is seen by Fedora bug triagers. Now, as I said, I was trying to make it working on different bugzillas. So, particularly, I was interested in Bugzilla Mozilla. Here is much less customizations. The file is much more simpler. You have that yellow background. And the Bugzilla guy whom I got some inspiration and with whom I am trying to work preferred not to have many buttons around, but to have one scroll bar. So it is possible to define in the list that actually it won't be in list, it will be in scroll bar. So it is the same thing. You get the node, and you can set the buttons and stuff. Again, there are like even different objects. So if you want some specific extensions just for your Bugzilla, it should be easy to plug them into the file.
So you can do things like manipulate like keywords?
Yep. Well, my problem is for testing is that I don't have enough rights, so I cannot do all of these, but. Yes, yeah. Actually, that should be just doable through a data file. So that's Bugzilla Mozilla. And now we are getting to the last window, which is, of course, how the Bugzilla looks when I log in. There are many features which could be switched on and off in a data file. So we have still the same script, just a different data file. So one thing which I'm not sure it is bug in Bugzilla Red Hat or somewhere, nobody was ever able to catch it, but for some inexplicable reasons, our Bugzilla makes a lot of attachments into MIME type application content stream, which sucks a lot because you cannot open it you have to download it, and it's not that fun. So I decided, and switching of the MIME type in Bugzilla, if you have to do it for like 10 attachments, it sucks. So I decided, okay, what I want is one bug, one click. So first it makes this very ugly title, so it is very obvious. And then it's fixed. It makes some XML RPC calls, and now it's not explained. So I have all these buttons I was saying. Now, okay, I'm working on Xbugs, so I am going through a lot of Xorg0 log files. And what's very useful is to make some very brief check from what there are problems. So you can grep it, Or you can make a window like this, which wouldn't be maximized, and it actually downloads the log file, run it through the regular expression, and tells me that there is not much bad in this. Okay, so that's one bug. This has been actually triaged. And I need to take a look at the other bug. And I need to grab this window and put it here. Okay, so the other bug is okay, I don't know, so I have to find some random bug. One funny thing about situation in Fedora, which probably not everybody knows, is that we have the thing called abort. Abort is a tool for catching the backtraces from crashed program created by some Red Hat guys. I'm not actually hating it as many of my colleagues, but I have to admit that its capabilities in filtering duplicates are something to be desired. That's just for X and Thunderbird Firefox bugs. So if I pick random crash in Thunderbird, then it creates some report that this crashed and puts me here attachment. Well, again, you have to go through the attachment. So I thought an attachment is all threads big file. So I thought it would be useful if I can get to the bug just the particular thread where crash happened, and to get, I don't know, first, I think it is 10 frames of that crash. So I can see that what it happened in NSMSG DB view node change. So I can select it and say, well, it would be interesting to know where elsewhere in our bugzilla we have some crashes with this string. And so I can see that these are possible duplicates. Or I can say, okay, but let's go and try whether somebody talks about this string upstream. So it knows that the upstream for Firefox bugs is bugzilla Mozilla. And it finds, actually, we have here crash. So this is possible candidate for closing our bug against this bug. Or I can say, well, I really think that this bug should be resolved upstream. So I click send upstream. And it doesn't file the bug. Please don't be worried. It just pre-files the form, so with all the comments from the original bug, and allows me to file the bug easily. So these are some interesting ones. Then there is a many of like small, this thing should be bold and blue if I am in the, there are some hints and clues, but I can see that, I know that default assignee for Thunderbird bugs is this guy, so I just by click, and that's different by the component. So all Thunderbird bugs should go usually to this guy. So I can do it. That's all in, again, defined in data file. Yeah, and one fun thing. Okay, actually, I will add this backtrace to the bug and put it to Yan. So let's save this bug. Well, and this is pretty bad prompt. Enter comments for this comment. But I will. I have it on the to-do list to fix this. But the window jumps to me, and I say, I don't know. And Firefox records for me somewhere. It's some JSON file in profile that this message, which bug it was and which day. And then when I click generate TS, it generates my timesheet with all the bugs I went for. Because like, that's for Halo. So that's the thing which is probably interesting only for some of you, but it can be switched on as well. I think that's it. Yeah. So how I'm doing time-wise? Good, except the mic knows where. Okay, I will put it here. So basically, I'm ready for any other examples, what you want to see, or questions.
Have you published it somewhere?
Yes.
Sorry if I missed that.
No, I haven't said it. Oh, I'm in the wrong window. Not only I have published it, but there is like Git repository mailing list with nobody, and I'm trying to push it to AMO, but I'm afraid that I'm too fast for AMO because I like to have updates every other day. That's probably not good for them, so it's not reviewed yet, and probably won't be for some time. Okay. And some, where is my mouse? And some talks about it and is on my blog. Address is here. One thing which I can show, which might be interesting to some of you. So, this is the data file for Mozilla. So basically I say that the position should be in drop-down. Let's put it into the drop-down. This is how the item is called. This is what comment it makes. Some of them just make comments. Some of them switch status or resolution. I can do much more of them. I don't have it. It's not that rich. Remove keyword, change target. But I have more of these. And if anything else is needed, it can be added easily. So you just edit this JSON file and you can have whatever you want.
But where's the logic? Like where do you check a file for its content?
What do you mean?
Well, in your example, you downloaded the X org log and checked for all files of all lines beginning with G or WW or whatever it was. So you need some logic. Not only
Yeah. No, I have, okay. Okay. Where are we? Okay. So No, this is template. This is actually what I'm using. So no, like to say that you need like these strings and these grabs are not there. I think it could be improved, but the logic, just that this mechanism will switch on, is that you have this line in the JSON file, and then you get that check target in the attachment list. So it searches whether in config data you have XOR analysis set to true, and then it puts up that thing. But again, all this thing, like in terms of JavaScript, that's like 20 lines of code, so it can be edited pretty easily if you need something else. Or if you need something more interesting, then patches are welcome, of course.
And have you replaced all that bugzilla.gnome.org functionality, or have you re-implemented that in that Jetpack extension?
What do you mean?
Well, currently the GNOME Bugzilla has.
Oh, yeah. I haven't, but I can easily. I would probably have to talk with GNOME folks what they like to do. But what they have there is really just adding comments and adding changing status and resolution, which for me is just to make a new JSON file. I will have to decide. I don't want to do it for bugzilla GNOME.org people without talking with them, whether, I don't know, remove the old buttons and putting new ones, or how to do it.
But couldn't you transparently overload them with the Jetpack extension?
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Replace the buttons that are there right now that come from
Yeah.
and just replace them and place your buttons
Yeah.
in there instead.
Of course. It's just the manipulation, so whatever is in that page could be removed and replaced by something else. Yeah. I had a couple of people asking me whether I would like to, why I'm doing it Firefox and not in something more cool. One guy was talking about Epiphany, which I'm not sure whether it is cool, but that's another discussion. Of course, somebody was suggesting Chromium. Well, I have to say that the API and the Jetpack system, as it is now, is really nice. And more, it's like relating to, there is the movement, it's called CommonJS, to make a standard library for JavaScript, and Jetpack is relating to it. So theoretically, it should be theoretically possible that if some other browsers will follow the CommonJS standard, then it could be made browser neutral. But so far, I try to use the standard software which we have in Fedora and RHEL, and standard browser is Firefox. So this is how it is. And of course, if anybody wants to pick it up, and it's MIT X11 license, so if anybody wants to make the port to another browser, then he or she is very welcome.
Did you talk to Upstream about the change?
Well, I am Upstream. No.
Well, for Bugzilla then.
Yes, a little, but frankly, I haven't got many reactions. Most of the reactions was like, it is not possible to do the Bugzilla instance independent stuff because it's too complicated. I think I'm showing that it is possible, so I will try to persuade them more.
Who have you talked to?
There is somebody who made, hold on, whether I have it in, this guy? Yeah. He made some other JavaScripts, Jetpack scripts which are making some kind of slightly weird thing. I'm not sure whether it is useful, but for them it probably is. They do have all the who edit attachment, who some more stuff into the bugzilla page. I think it should be certainly edit. There is even the empty so the BG page is the like generic object for every bugzilla, and then I have my RH page for Red Hat Bugzilla, and if anybody wants to extend this one to whatever you wants to add, that's like child object which can be extended to with whatever stuff you want to have. So yeah, I have to say that I'm slightly disappointed with the lack of reaction I got so far. I'm like crying everybody that I have this nice tool which works for me very well. But, and so, yeah.
The number of people who care about bugzilla as much as you do.
Well, I was trying, like, of course I know that, and I know that there are a few bug triagers out there, but yeah. Okay.
I think it's super useful, so thank you.
I think I'm done.
Fedora hosted /triage. Right.
Fedora hosted /bugzilla-triage. I can show it to you. That should be it, I believe, yes. You have Git repository. I might even mirror on GitHub, which I don't use GitHub, but there are people who use it. Okay.
Okay.
Pascal. Yeah. What do you have to do in this session? Press this. Can you just try?
Speaking.
It doesn't. So.
It's coming. I think all people are there who know the triage.
What's happening at the center? Glitter.
No, this one is like more for people who want to start. And here we find people who already know it. Thanks.
So just an announcement before starting the talk. I'd like to remind you that there is a canonical party tonight at 8 in Le Paris Club in the center, and there is a map at the desk if you need help to find it.
Can you start? So we will start then.
We don't hear you. Sorry.
In this, yeah, I can put it. Maybe in this cover itself. No, in this one.
This. Mute it.
Yeah. Fine. So welcome to all. Today's presentation it will be like for how we do the bug triaging and what are the fields we should be taken care in the bug triaging and how new people can start the bug triaging. So as I see, like mostly the people who are aware of bug triaging are here, so I don't know how much it will make sense to explain like how we do the bug triaging and how a newcomer can start it, but I will just proceed with it. So this will be the agenda for the presentation. Let brief about myself and what the bugzilla is, what the bug triaging basically about what the points we should take care in bug triaging, and little bit about bugzilla statistics, and then Q&A, or maybe it will be more about the discussion we can have. So this is about myself. I do bug triaging in GNOME Bugzilla, and basically I do the testing of evolution, which is like default email client for GNOME. My email ID, basically this thing, IRC, my nick Alakil. So on hash evolution and hash bugs, mostly I will be online on Indian time zone. So it's really difficult for maybe there is some overlap in time zone between European countries and India, but not other. So when we think about the bug triaging, so the first point which comes to the mind is like what the bugzilla is. So basically bugzilla is a bug tracking system in which like we store the information about bug, what the product, about its like in which version it was there, and some information about the bug, whether it's a crash or it's a usability or any feature request or anything. It's an open source project. Basically it was started by Mozilla, and this is the URL for our bugzilla, GNOME Bugzilla, bugzilla.gnome.org. Now we move forward. So this is just the screenshot of our front page of Bugzilla. So in that, like, you see options about how to file a new bug, and how to browse it, search for browse for the reports, how to search for any bug. You can change the user preferences. Now the point comes is, what is bug triaging? So if we look for the main points what we want to consider in the bug triaging, we can look for the three fields. So the first point is whether the bug which is reported in our Bugzilla has enough information or not. What I mean by enough information is like if it is a crash, it should have the proper traces with debug symbols, and if it's a feature request, it should have more description, like what user is expecting and whether it's already available or not, or if it's already available, what part it should have more, which will fill the user requirements. Second one is, mostly it's important what the severity and priority Bugzilla has. So we will discuss more about the severity and priority in later slides. The third thing is, bug should be filed in the right bucket. So what I mean by right bucket is, basically as a product, like I will just take the example of evolution. It depends on many GNOME libraries. So there are chances that crash may happen, or if any competency is there, it can be due to the libraries on which evolution is depend. So it's like mostly user will be filing bugs against evolution, but it should be moved to the proper library or which is causing the problem. Same way there can be some bugs like which are there due to Flash plugin or WebKit or maybe some Mozilla thing. So those bugs should not be filed in Bugzilla. So in triaging we take care that these bugs should be filed in the proper Bugzilla, maybe move to the Mozilla Bugzilla or WebKit, wherever they maintain their bugs. Moving ahead, what fields we should take care in the Bugzilla. So if you look at the bug, these will be the important field which we should consider in bug triaging. So basically the product, as I said, like it can be filed in the evolution, but it's not necessary that it's a evolution bug. So product should be modified if it's not the correct one. The component will be like any product will be divided in many components. For example, evolution we have mailer, calendar, task. So as a normal user, he may not be aware of the correct component. So it will be good if we know about the product and if we move that right component. And this version is about the product version, and here we have GNOME version. So these two fields are important to know about, like whether this product currently we are in the support or not, whether that user will get upgrade or not. If it's like if user is not able to get the update, then it's better to inform, and so in that case these version fields will be useful. This is importance in which we takes care of severity and priority. So yeah. So severity and priority. So basically in severity it will be like what the impact of the bug is there. So it can be a blocker. Blocker in the sense it will be like application is not able, any developer or any user is not able to use the application, then it will be a blocker, and it can be a critical. So mainly bugzilla we get more critical bugs, because by default crash bugs are tagged as a critical one, and if there is any memory loss or anything, that will be like critical. And there other severity fields will be major, normal or minor bugs, where there will be very less minor bugs. Other than that, it is the second field is the priority. So like in severity we are taking care of the impact of that bug, and priority we takes it's more about like how to prioritize the bugs. So if you say like crashes, all the crashes will be critical. So on the if you want to take any decision like which crash bugs we should take care, we should means in the sense developer take care, or as any other person who wants to know like whether this bug is really important or not. So these priority fields will decide on that. So in priority we have like immediate and high, urgent. So those fields will basically, if you say like there are around 25 crash bugs which are as a severity as a critical, then important field will be a major factor, like whether we tag as a immediate fix or urgent one. That will be like decision factor for a developer to fix those bugs only. And this target milestone can be used by developers, so it will be easy, like if they want to target is for next release or for this release. And this GNOME target is basically useful for release teams, so that like in before the we are going to release any GNOME stable one, around like before freezes we can go through all bugzilla and we can see like if we have set any GNOME target for that release, so that we make sure that developers fix those bugs. The other important thing is keywords. So basically keywords are already there in the bugzilla database, so we just need to use them. If you click on keyword, you will get that window. In this, like all keywords and their respective description is defined there, and all the bugs which are tagged with these keywords have this search functionality, so you can just click on that, you will get all the bugs which are tagged as keyword. So if you see some important keywords, it will be like one thing is like this probable dupe. If bugzilla in like during bug triaging, if we feel that that bug is already there in the product but we are not able to find that currently or at the time, so we can just mark it as a probable dupe. So next time if anyone triage or any developer is looking into it, that bug, he will be aware that that bug is already there, maybe old bug or something. Other important field will be GNOME love. So basically this helps in identifying the minor or normal bugs which a new developer who just want to start working on GNOME, it will help them to identify those bugs and to start fixing them. So it will help to identify and to know about code, and after fixing these bugs which are tagged as a GNOME love, he can move forward. So this is the URL, like in bugzilla itself we can see our keywords. The other important field is whiteboard. So the difference between keyboard and whiteboard is like keyboard we have already defined in bugzilla database, whiteboard we can set as our convenient. So I will just take the example of evolution. Like basically there were some whiteboard previously available, but Matthew once started it, managing it properly. So in evolution we have many whiteboard status, so it helps any developer also, and helps any user also. If you want to just look for the composer bugs in the whiteboard, you can just set evolution bracket composer, so it will just list down all the bugs which are filed against composer. Same way, like there are this thing evolution express, which is basically for netbook, we have tagged it so that it will be easy to identify those bugs. For evolution, these we have kept in like the description of these whiteboard status are there in our live GNOME page, evolution bugzilla topics. Yep.
What are these components?
Components? No, there can be some components, but mostly these are not there in the component in the bugzilla database. Instead of like asking for adding more components, it's more for understanding of like as a developer level or the people who are more aware about the evolution. So like it will be keep coming, and instead of like keep requesting, it will be easy to add them and to search them.
It's primarily done for developers to just concentrate on a bucket of bugs. So
Okay. But I mean, isn't that what components are for?
pardon?
Isn't that also what components are for? Or
Uh,
are you treating components as
Components will be mailer, calendar, task, and user documentation or something like that.
That's it.
Okay, that makes sense. Makes sense. That's a problem with bugzilla.
Yeah. So here is the like CC field where if you want to add yourself to the all the notifications for the bugs, which if it's getting updated or if it's fixed on if any patch is available, you will get the mail by adding yourself into CC. OS field will define like whether it's in Linux, Solaris, or it's filed against Windows. Yeah. So if you move forward, we basically the bugs which are coming in the bugzilla, we can divide into many fields like many category, mostly or I would say many bugs we get as a crash bugs, and second type of bug will be functional failure. In many, like if any function is not working properly, or you can say like that misplaced, that is not available currently, maybe it was available previously. The other type of bugs will be feature, which is like more on the enhancement request. When user is coming for some other application, like he is moving from Thunderbird or KML to the evolution, for example, if he is moving to evolution, he may feel that okay, that feature was available in the Thunderbird and it was useful for them, so he may look for that same feature in evolution. If he is not able to find, he still feels that feature is important, it like he can file as a feature request. The other points will be like usability, where user is not getting the proper error message, or that menu item is not visible, or he is not able to find that menu item. There can be many other categories. One can be regression, and there can be translation bugs, there can be documentation bugs. So it's like in bugs itself we have many categories we can divide. And the people who just want to start the triaging, there are some modules like which usually prefers them to be triaged by only developers, so that they have more control on bugzilla and they can categorize it easily for them. They don't want to close just like if it's information is not available completely, or if that reporter is not able to reply back in 6 months, something like that. So just these modules, like basically we should just the new triagers should be careful about that. So after knowing about bugzilla and the bugzilla fields, what we do in the triaging, the point comes, do we really need bug triaging? So I will just go through some 2-3 graphs in which we will try to think that do we really, means if bug triaging is important or not. So this graph has all the incoming new bugs which are filed in last 6 months from Jan to June. So if you see, it's only for the desktop categorization I have taken. So around like 8,000 bugs we got in last 6 months. These are the new bugs. Out of that, like how many are fixed, how many are incomplete, how many are marked as a duplicate, and still we have open bugs, which is like around 3,000 bugs are open. So out of 8,000 we have 3,000 bugs open. So how we come to know, okay, from this graph that bug triaging is important. So we will just move to next graph to know more about it. In this graph I have all the bugs which are like basically fixed, incomplete, marked as incomplete. But in the previous graph I had all the new bugs. In this graph I have all the bugs which are there previously also, which are new also. So it contains data of 6 months including old bugs and new bugs. So we will just look for 3 fields which are means most of the times bug will be operated upon. So duplicate, incomplete, obsolete and fixed. So here if we see the fixed bugs are less than these 3. So if we combine the efforts of the combine the count of bugs which are marked as duplicate, incomplete and obsolete, it goes beyond the beyond means it's more than the bugs which are fixed. So it's not about only fixing the bugs or development. It's more about the categorization, and it's more about the identifying the right bugs, closing them appropriately. So if you see, like for I won't say that this full efforts is put by bug triaging team or bug squad, but still we need many people who can do that job, which is like more than 50% of the bugs which are coming in. This is just the status for last 3 years. So 2007, 8 and 9. If we see in that, like these were bugs are the open and these were the closed. So it's like almost double bugs were closed in these years. Then also we have enough number of open bugs. So that means like we have good backlog of bugs, and we are not able to fix the bugs at speed which they are coming. So it's good to have categorization. It's good to have all the keywords, whiteboard status set, so that it will be easy to identify the right bugs at the right time. So for that, it's good to have people for triaging. So next, who does bug triaging? So basically, if we see these, if we divide in some, if we go for categorization, I see like these 4 types will be there who do the bug triaging. So one basically will be the bug squad members. Second will be the maintainer. Maintainer is basically like when he look for any critical bug or any bug which needs quick attention, which needs to be fixed, which are affecting many users. Then the release team members will be looking for bug triaging when we are releasing any product. So it will be good to know whether this product is in the state where we can release it or not. So bug triage release team will be handling that. And then there will be advanced users who know more about the product and who are not general user. So they can help the other users which I think don't know more about the product. And advanced user may have some workarounds which like till the time we get the bug fix, they can suggest users about the that users suggest users about that workaround. If we start for like bug triaging, what needs a bug triage's quality should be there. So these are the points like sensible, patience, friendly, listener. What I mean by sensible is like if there is like he should be aware of that what correct comment should be put on the bug. If like there is a crash bug, then it should be like if you are asking for crashes, if you are asking for traces or with debug symbols or something. If there is a feature bug, then he should be aware that what are the means correct description should be there. If it really have the expected output which user has. And it will be like many times new people will be switching to the GNOME. They will have more queries about the GNOME. They will keep asking. So we should be able to reply them and in the friendly manner, so that people can, if people will be using that continuously, then they will be more aware about the products. So if we look from the bug triaging perspective, I think these roles and responsibility will be there for a bug triager. Assist in the prioritization of the defects. So basically it's same as like helping to identify the correct priority bugs, so that we can developers can fix in the time, we get the right product in time. Assist the defects, the appropriate developer helps in raising the quality of GNOME. So it's like we are fixing right bugs, developers are fixing bugs which are mostly affected, which most of the users are affected. So it will make GNOME stable, and it will help in raising the quality of the product and making more people happy. How any new one or anyone who wants to start the triaging, what will be the steps to start the triaging? So first will be like create a bugzilla account. and read the bug triaging guidelines. So it will be helpful for him after reading the bug triaging guidelines, which will help him like what he expected out of him and what things he should take care of it. Read the stock responses. Basically, in the bugzilla, we have seen like in the there will be stock responses for need info. There will be incomplete, duplicate. So instead of putting some random comments, it will be good to use those stock responses. Other thing will be like if anyone wants to start the bug triaging, it will be a good step to use the module which he is using or application he is using. So he will be more aware of the like facts about that application, and he will be able to help that user instead of just putting some random comments. Then log into bugs channel, join bug squad, and after putting some efforts, you can ask for more permissions so that you will be able to modify and change fields of bugs. This is the triaging flow chart which we usually follow. So the bugs, the incoming bugs, all the bugs will be in the unconfirmed state because they are not bugged upon or they are not triaged. All bugs will be unconfirmed. And after that, if we feel that bug doesn't have enough information to fix by any developer or it doesn't make any sense, we can move to the need info state. And we have set approx like 6 weeks period, where if user is not able, a reporter is not able to respond, we will just close as a incomplete. It's not any hard deadline or something. It can be like 2 months also. It depends on how the reporter is active. If he is trying to help us, he is trying to provide the correct information, but in current state he is not able to, or maybe he is not getting the right steps, then it's good to wait for more than 2 months also. It's not fixed like in 6 weeks itself, we should just close the bugs. If we get the correct information, we just move to unconfirmed or new state. So there will be always debate on like when we should have unconfirmed bug or when should have the new bugs. So I think if you see at a crash report, it will be easy to make it new, because if we are getting like more than 20-30 bugs which are not from any single user, it's not like a single user is keep filing all the bugs and marking as a duplicate and then we are moving it to new. It should be like from many users, or otherwise it will be good if any maintainer or any developer move that bugs to new, so that he can later he can identify that these bugs should be fixed, or he will have some timeline to those bugs should be fixed. After new, if any developer is fixing that bug, he will move to the assigned state. If he has provided the patch and the bug is fixed, then the bug should be closed as a result. If any user or reporter is trying that patch and that bug is marked as a result, but that patch is not working as the user was expecting it, so it's better to means user can reopen that bug. So this reopen will be again go to the same cycle like assigned and resolve. And then the closing the bugs, there are like many fields. If the bug is fixed, then resolve fixed. If the bug is like in the need info state, and if it's older than 2 releases, if we consider like 230, then 226 is can be considered as a obsolete. It doesn't mean that all the bugs are obsolete against file 226, but it's more about like the bugs which user can't reproduce, or there are many changes which may fix that bug. So in that case, like 226, we can consider to moving some bugs as obsolete and let user try the new version to come up with the new bug report. Other fields are won't fix, with like bug we don't want to fix, or node gnome, like as I said, like if it's any bug in the Flash player or Mozilla, or any like if we consider evolution, then open change or Samba, then those bugs should be moved out of gnome bugzilla and filed in the proper bugzilla. Next point will be how do we collaborate. So there are many people like who are working across time zones, who are working from different countries. So there should be some way how they can collaborate. So this is the home page for bug squads and mailing list. This is the subscription URL form where this list can be subscribed. Hash bugs on channel, you can find all the bug triages, and there can be some bug day organization where developers, different users, all the bug squad members will come together and do triaging. So in the bug day, it will be like more easy to collaborate, and work together.
How often are we doing code days these days?
Maybe once in a year or something. Not it will be more about the individual modules or applications. It won't be like collaborative GNOME bug day or something. It's like long time I haven't seen it. If we look for the GNOME 3 goals, like how a bug squad member can help it. So these were the three basic GNOME goals, GNOME 3 goals which were there, which were set by release team and other people. So revamp our user experience, streamlining of the platform, promotion of GNOME. So a bug triage member can be a useful, or he can provide some inputs, like from the user experience it will be like he is more aware about the bugs than a developer or maintainer, so he will be more aware about the user, the features which users are looking for or they are expecting, streamlining of the platform. Many libraries and modules are deprecating, so it will be good to guide that reporter or user that these modules or libraries are no more available, it's better to move to the new release, or it will be easy to convince him to move to the next release. So if we see as a GNOME 3, it will be easy for reporters, like if they move to GNOME 3 they will get more support, they will get more bug fixes. So in terms of that, it's like more friendly comments on the bugzilla. It can help us to promote the GNOME. So at the end, it's like we need GNOME bug triagers. It's not about only like fixing the bugs, triaging. It's not about the fixing the bugs, translation, GNOME doc. We need triagers also, and it's not you need any programming skills or something. It's easy to start. Anyone can jump in, and after some time, after spending some time on bugzilla, after doing some triaging, he will be good in the triaging. And good opportunities ahead. I just want to say, like, it's not on the like triaging you will be stuck. You can contribute if you know little bit programming, or if you want to code something, like as I said, like GNOME love bugs will be there, which can be used to fixing the new bugs. And if we can take the example of Andre, like he started with triaging and now he is in the release team, so you have good opportunities. So thanks to the GNOME Foundation for sponsorship, and if we have some questions or if we have some discussions, we can. Yep.
What's something that downstream distributions can do as far as making the workflow easier? So in Ubuntu, we basically have Pedro who sits there all day,
Yep.
triaging the bugs and doing all that stuff.
Yep.
But in our example, sorry, Pedro, we have like,
That's me for Fedora.
oh, okay, all right. So we have the Fedora Pedro here as well.
Yeah.
We've made tools for like Launchpad with like a plugin, right? And
Yep.
so I have this waking nightmare that we have bugs for crashers sitting in Launchpad that aren't getting to the upstream bugzilla because Pedro only did 10,000 bugs that day or something.
Yep.
11,000. So is there any way we can talk about tools like that that basically will help do that first part of the loop, so that when the fix does come out, especially in stable releases, distributions know what to ship out for quick releases?
In the just previous presentation, he showed some scripts and some more stuffs, like in the bugzilla we can add. So you can have an option of filing upstream or closing, so that it will take care of all the crashes and all the description to be added into the upstream bugzilla, so that it will be easy for you. Don't need to copy and paste everything there.
Right.
You will be able to do that.
Right. Sometimes I feel like by
Yep.
the time I get to the upstream bug tracker, I've filled in the version of that software like 3 times sometimes.
Yeah.
And then
So-
I end up being wrong, and then I feel guilty, and then I never want to do it again.
Yeah, it will be more about like adding more option, scripting options. Otherwise, like it should be like maybe the reporter who is reporting from downstream to upstream, he should be aware of the like upstream development, so that maybe instead of filing that bug, if he is aware like some fixes are available already, it will be easy to track them and put them into downstream. So mostly we see like some bugs will be there which are already fixed, but the reporter is not aware of that in the downstream especially. So it will be easy to point them out, and if it's possible, that fix can be released as an update.
That's something
Yep.
I'm seeing a lot. We get a lot of bugs pass upstream, particularly from Ubuntu and Ultra.
Yep.
And unfortunately, a lot of them aren't particularly high quality reports, and sometimes the things that often just need to be plugged straight away or reported as a duplicate. So each bug is getting triaged twice all the time.
Yep.
So it gets triaged downstream, which just involves them pointing out to us, and then we say, oh, this isn't good. So it'd be really nice to, I mean, I'm on good terms, talk about with some of the people that do that, but it'd be nice to
Oh, sorry.
So ideally, if it's someone from like our bug squad, we would get supposedly higher quality reports. But unfortunately, sometimes people just fire away bug reports in different bug trackers.
yeah.
They never pay attention to the version that costs us twice as much work.
Yep.
Yeah, that sucks.
Everyone's doing it. It'd be nice to think about ways that we can do better.
One more solution can be, it will be good like if people who are filing from downstream can, after 1 year, maybe they can review some bugs, and if the reporter is not complaining about that, it will be easy to close them out instead of like other people are doing again triaging and then closing them. Because as a downstream bug report means as a maintainer, it will be easy to look into all the fields and the comments of the user, so that it will reduce the triaging efforts for the other people, and it may process fast also. Because anyway, if we look for 226 GNOME, then there won't be any update or anything. So after maybe 1 year, like in 230, we can say 226 more, some bugs will be obsolete by then.
We did that once. Jamie Zawinski didn't like it.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the big picture strategy around GNOME 3? Right, okay, but I mean, are there any plans to create builds for people so that we can get more people involved in triaging, or are we just assuming people have to JH build, or has anybody given any thought to this?
Paul and I were just talking how we really missed the foresight daily spin thing. That was pretty awesome.
So a couple different things. So Augie, who's new to the board, has excluded or resurrect the live images because we have been doing those in a timely manner. The two, the marketing team really wants this beta label, but we don't know what that means for maintainers yet. But the goal, I've already reached out to George, and reached out to a couple other folks. I'd really like to see some kind of beta package in the three main distros. So if an application in addition to Shell has this GNOME 3 beta, users can just install this beta package, get the 4 or 5 apps that are considered GNOME 3 ready-ish to test. Of course, that's pie in the sky. We're just starting those discussions today.
Yeah.
Something else which sometimes comes to my mind is, especially with modules upstream that are obsolete because of being superseded, like GNOME BFS is replaced by GBFS. So kind of where new upstream bugs or whatever, GNOME bugs were get closed as obsolete because nobody's working anymore on GNOME BFS. On the other hand, several distros ship long-term support versions. So in a kind of way, it's like, yeah, if you say upstream, yeah, report it downstream to your distro, because upstream nobody cares anymore, there's no maintainer. It ends up in being probably patched 3 times in 3 different distros at least, instead of
Three different patches.
Yeah, 3 different patches, and people spending time instead of collaborating somehow. But I also don't have any kind of solution for this. But I think it's kind of a small problem at least. But we also waste resources by that.
Do we need to unify everything? Do we need a one single big bug tracker?
I don't think so.
we actually have a tool called Harvest where we know where our distro patches are, we know where your guys's are, I think we know where yours are, and I think Mandriva or one over. And then you go to like the URL evolution, it shows you every patch that everyone's shipping.
And my experience is that usually the maintainers of the components of different distributions are incompatible. So I don't know, I'm sitting next to a guy from OpenSSH, they are stealing patches one from another all the time.
Yeah.
So
But
stealing.
my idea was if we had one page where an upstream maintainer could say, here's every patch shipped by every distro in every version. At the very least, before a distro guy starts to fix something, he can go to that page and say, oh, Fedora has it, let me make it. And then the other way around.
Maybe we could collect from downstream, yeah. Maybe me and my own could.
Or it, one more solution can be like if a maintainer sends a mail to the project list where like he can notify all the users, all maybe the maintainers of other distros that this patch is important. If you want to release as an update, maybe you can.
It happens sometimes on non-distros, but
Yeah.
it's not really used. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
but
like
people
one
do that in
person-
IRC though. I see that all the time.
Yeah.
Someone's like, hey, you guys really need to ship this patch. And then the shop.
Yeah, it kind of works, but IRC will.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is we don't have like a formal process where we say, well, I told Andre, but he was disconnecting. I assume he's going to take care of it. And then like,
My network's flaky.
yeah.
Do we have a process, so say we depreciate something, can we mail the distros that are still shipping that module, say, would you like to take over maintainership of this module?
You kind of have to. They make that decision when they decide to support something for 3 years.
Kind of, when you are running one-time distro, that's like what we are paid for. Meaning you have the people who are like the maintainer should know what they say what is. There is some communication between the maintainers. I'm not sure whether this is something which you want to ask to do.
Me personally, we have a guy on our team working on consolidating, because I want to provide that as a service to an upstream, right?
Yep.
There's all the patches that we think we know about. Because all the distros are moving to VCS maintained packages anyway, so it'd be dumb not to do that.
Today or tomorrow. Later.
Oh, at least we're thinking and talking together.
Crazy. Sorry, you guys living together.
Say, we gotta do is get Slackware back on board.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No. So if I can get GNOME shell to build, maybe I'll at least help out a little bit.
A lot of stuff. this, you can put it in a pocket on your jeans.
Okay. I got a pocket. All right.
It's more fun to do it when like the software is being rendered, and it's a little less fun. The same.
It beeps. I have to fiddle with it sometimes. It just... It's all right. I'll ignore it. This should work just fine. We did a BOF in here yesterday, so...
You can see here.
Oh,
You
right.
have the same output here.
Excellent. Oh. Cool.
You have 1 minute.
1 minute.
And you have what other infinite.
Oh, yeah, great. I'm unplugging it. That's annoying. Fantastic. Oh, my mic's on. Good? All right. All right, my name is Sean McCants. I lead up the GNOME documentation team, and I maintain the GNOME Help Viewer Yelp, and I'm involved in various other projects, all of which have something to do with help or documentation in some way. I just want to say I much prefer having conversations with people over lecturing. So if you have any questions or comments, or you think I'm an idiot at any point, just raise your hand and quack really loud, and I'll talk to you. So my talk is better user assistance. User assistance is an industry term, encompasses documentation and support and anything that really assists the user in getting something done. It's a big 5-syllable term that lets people have fancy job titles like user assistance technology professional. I like simple language, so I have a word that I like a lot better, and that's help. So that's what I'll use throughout most of my talk. Help's a nice word. It's short, it's to the point, everyone understands it, and it has a really nice connotation to it, right? I'm here to help you. I'm trying to help the user. I genuinely care. So I'll talk about a few of the reasons that we actually provide help to begin with. And there are, there are a lot of reasons. I could start with something very altruistic, like I just really want to help the user. I care that he's able to get something done. But more selfishly, good help helps to create more satisfied users. It lowers support costs. And it's not just more satisfied users, but it's more experienced and more enthusiastic users. And your experienced users are the ones that are likely to stick around. A casual user is very easy to lose. They play around with your software. They go off and do something else. Somebody who's invested in your software, has skill sets in it, is really likely to keep using it. Your enthusiastic users are the ones that tell their friends and family. They're the ones where you get word of mouth. So you really want to create these enthusiastic and experienced users, and documentation and help is one way that you can help do that. There's one other reason, and that's that help is just kind of built into our notion of what software provides. We expect it to be there. So if a user goes onto a support forum and asks a question, it's not uncommon for somebody to say RTFM. You can't RTFM if there's no FM, right? So talk about a few of the different ways that people actually use help. And this is important to understand to actually create good help. Otherwise, you're just creating something for nobody with no idea of what they want out of it. So to understand people's attitudes and behaviors. And so there are many ways that people use help. So this is just kind of a sampling of a few different ways. But it really affects what they're trying to get out of the help. So for instance, if you have a lot of background information in a topic, some users might actually find that enlightening. They're actually trying to learn. They want all that information. Other users, it's just getting in the way. It's preventing them from reading what they actually want to read, from getting the information that they actually want. So how the user is using the help really shapes what kind of help you should be providing for them. So one way that people use help is just for a task. How do I do something? So for example, I'm leaving on a trip tomorrow and I want to create a backup of my files. I'm afraid that airport security is going to drop my laptop on the ground. I really want to have a backup. And I don't have time right now to learn about doing incremental backups and creating secure backups and different backup solutions. I really just want to create a backup. I need to pack and get ready for my trip. I might want to learn that information later. But right now, I want to get in, get the information I want, and get out. Another thing is, what's this? So, for instance, we might pop up a dialog saying you have 10 megabytes of disk space left. What's a megabyte? How many pictures of my grandkids can I still put on my computer? Right? Is this something I need to care about? And if so, what do I do about it? Do I just have to start deleting all my files? So it's similar to a task in that the user really just wants to get an answer to a question and get out of the help. They don't want to spend a lot of time reading. But it's different in that with a task, it's something that the user wanted to do to begin with. It's something they were setting out to do. In this situation, it's something that we've forced upon the user. So the user's tolerance for a bunch of crap in the help system is going to be even lower. Reference. This is if you understand how something works and you're just looking up some piece of information, you can't remember everything. Programmers know this is, API references. You can't keep the entire GTK API in your head, so you have dev help at your side and you pull it up when you need to. But this also happens in user help. Large applications tend to provide a lot of keyboard shortcuts to help you work very efficiently. And in time, of course, you should learn the keyboards that matter, the keyboard shortcuts that matter to you. But it's very common and it's helpful to provide a cheat sheet that you can use at first to just kind of reference some of this material. Another example, spreadsheet applications will tend to provide a reference of the kinds of functions that you can use inside of the spreadsheet. So that's a few ways people use help that are really, they're just trying to get a quick piece of information. Now, occasionally, and very rarely, they will use your help to learn. This happens far, far less often than you would like to think it does. When it does, you'll be young and smiling and sitting in a field of flowers. It's a nice feeling. This is when users really want to find out more information. They're just trying to learn all there is to know, or at least a good amount of what there is to know about a system. This is more likely to happen with applications where people consider it kind of a tool of the trade. An office worker might invest some time in learning a spreadsheet application or in learning a word processor. They become more experienced, they're better at their job, they get better performance reviews. A graphics designer might invest time learning the GIMP or Inkscape. And it doesn't just have to be your job. It could be something that you're really passionate about. An amateur musician maybe has a garage band with his friends, really likes creating music, making songs. He might invest some time in really learning something like Jacosher, so that he can more easily create better music. It's not something he's being paid for, but it's something that he cares about doing. Your casual applications, things like, say, the calculator, people probably aren't going to sit down and read something to really learn about it. So with that, talk about a few of the different types of help that we provide. And again, this is just kind of a sampling. You could categorize it different ways. But help can basically be split up into active and passive help. Active is any time when the helper is really directly engaged with the user. So any sort of training and classroom environment, web chat and web forums, technical support, phone lines, any place where you're actually talking to the user or interacting with the user would be active help. And I'm not really going to talk a lot about it because it's another talk entirely. Passive help encompasses everything that we traditionally think of as documentation. We write something, we put it out there, somebody else reads it. We don't really get a chance to talk to the person or stand and look over their shoulder while they're reading it. And it doesn't just have to be written material like documentation. If you create video tutorials and put them out on the internet, that's still passive help. You're creating something, you're putting it out there, somebody else is viewing it. Passive is harder because we don't get to gauge the user's experience and react to the feedback, right? We kind of have to guess at what they're able to do and how they're going to respond to what we write. And there are tricks to making good guesses, but we're still guessing at the end. So a few of the types of passive help. Manuals, the good old manual. Manuals are anything that are designed to be read very linearly. Maybe not cover to cover, maybe it's okay to skip some chapters. But you generally assume that the user is going to read a few pages at the time, that the user has read, I don't know, the paragraph before the one that he's reading right now. Manuals can be really good for learning. If you're really just trying to learn a lot about a system, sitting down and reading a book is a really nice way to do it, provided the book is actually well written. They're not really good for tasks or for what's this. It's difficult to get into the middle of a book, get some quick piece of information, and just get out. And you can provide indexes and lists of figures and tables, and if it's online, then search. But just the entire writing style in a manual is just not conducive to the kind of random access that you want for tasks. Topic-oriented help. This is my favorite. Topics are great for tasks, troubleshooting. What's this? They present a small amount of information as quickly as possible, and they assume very little about what else you've read. Sometimes it really is necessary to have some piece of background information. And when that's the case, we can link off to another topic. If you need the information, if you don't know it yet, you can click the link. If you don't, you just read on. But topics are very small, self-contained, and never assume that you're reading the entire document or collection of topics linearly. Now, I have 3 basic tenets for what makes good topic-oriented help. Number 1, you can find the information that you want as quickly as possible, under a minute, and a minute is the absolute maximum. Think of every moment that you're spending searching as a moment that you're holding your breath. You can probably make it a minute. You're not really going to be happy if you have to. Number 2, a topic presents to you just the information that you're looking for right now. It doesn't hit you with a bunch of background information, make you read a bunch of other stuff. So these 2 alone ensure that you get a nice shallow learning curve. It's easy for a user to get into the help, find some information, and just move on. Number 3, topics link off to other topics that provide more information. So instead of just providing a couple of base things and, well, that's it, we then provide links that say, well, if you are interested, in the case of making the backups, if you are interested in creating better backups, doing more things with your backups, here's some stuff you can read, maybe not now, maybe later. So by providing these links and more information, not only do you have a shallow learning curve, but you don't have a shallow learning curve that just drops off the user at a certain point. Recipes. So this is kind of like a task. It's showing you how to do something, but it's generally longer, and it's not really something that you set out to do. So for example, I could have Andreas Nilsson write me up a tutorial on how to draw the Mallard logo in Inkscape. I don't really need to draw the Mallard logo. I have the Mallard logo. He already made it for me. But by reading his tutorials, by working through his steps, I would learn more about Inkscape. So a recipe is not really about teaching you the material that's in it. It's teaching you concepts by means of the material that's in it. Recipes, by the way, are a fantastic way to involve your community with writing. It can be difficult to get people to write troubleshooting docs. They're not always fun to write. They're difficult to write. Recipes, people love writing this stuff. They did something really cool and they write it up and they put it on their blog. They do this stuff anyway. So a good first way to get community contributions to your documentation, just collect the blog posts with this kind of stuff that your users are already doing. Interactive help. So in a traditional help, we have a document over here, and it has some text and some images and maybe some videos, and you read it, and you think about it, and then you go over here to your application and you do something, and it didn't work, and you go back to your help, and you read it, and you think about it. So you go back and forth between the thing you're being helped with your application and to your help. In interactive help, the help document itself is the thing that it's teaching you. So I actually have a fantastic example with Inkscape. Inkscape has these tutorials, and I'll do the basic one because I'm terrible. So I just pull this up, and you can see this. It has a tutorial. It has some explanatory text on it. Tells you how to do a few things. And you get down here, and it's telling you how to create shapes and move shapes around and do things with it. And you're not just reading this text and then going and doing it in Inkscape. This is Inkscape. It's an SVG file directly inside of it. So I can just manipulate everything right inside here. This is a really nice way to work with the system. It's much more, the help material is closer to what you're actually trying to do, and it's just more fun to use. There are only certain types of applications that are really amenable to doing interactive help. Basically anything with roughly a document-oriented interface, word processors, spreadsheets, Inkscape, as we saw, the GIMP could do something like this. If you have an application where something like this is possible, if you have something that has something like a document where you can do interactive help, you absolutely should. It's a wonderful type of help. Users love doing it. It's fun to use, and it's very instructive. So this is, I think, the best thing you can do if it's possible. And finally, onboard help. So all these other things are separate help windows that you bring up. Onboard help is anything that's embedded directly within the application without having to go out to a separate help viewer, web browser, or even a separate window within your application. Tooltips would be an example, a very simple example of onboard help. The kind of explanatory text that you see in an assistant would be onboard help. The what's this bubbles in K2E are onboard help. Does anyone remember Clippy? A particularly obnoxious little animated paperclip that used to be in Microsoft Office. Clippy was a particularly egregious example of onboard help. There's a nice idea there, provide context-sensitive help for the user, but Clippy failed in a couple of really spectacular ways. Most notably, he was very annoying. You don't want to focus on your help. He's sitting in the corner doing stupid dances and popping up balloons asking you if you want help. It's constantly drawing your eye to it. When you want to be focused on the application, on your task, on your resume, whatever you're trying to do, you don't want to focus on an animated paperclip. And second, you try to be very predictive of what you're doing. And that's, in theory, a really good thing if you can do it well. This is the kind of thing that an actual human tutor sitting over your, looking over your shoulder would do. They'd see what you're actually doing and tell you, what you could do to do it better. But if you don't do it well, if you can't really predict, then you just end up inundating the user with a bunch of useless stuff, and the user stops trusting the help system, and it becomes even more annoying. The trend, by the way, in the professional user assistance world is towards more and more onboard help, bringing the help closer to the application and closer to the user, because users tend not to actually open up things like Yelp outside help viewers. So bringing things actually towards the application means that users might actually use the help. Now I want to talk about some of the technologies we have, or at least the ones that I'm involved in. And this is, by the way, the part of my talk where I start showing pictures of ducks. These technologies I'll talk about are shaped by a few things. Most importantly, by the kinds of challenges that we have as a free software community. And not just the challenges, but also the things that we do well. Our documentation tends to be written by volunteer communities. It's very rare for companies to sponsor and pay people to work on the documentation. And these volunteers usually are not professional tech writers. So we have to get good help out of people who don't make a living making good help, which means lower the barrier to entry and make it easy to learn good help concepts that create better help. Also, our software tends to get customized a lot. In the case of GNOME, it gets picked up by Fedora and Ubuntu and OpenSUSE and I don't know how many other distros, and they all tweak it a little bit, extend it in one way or another. So when they do that, they need to be able to also extend the help so that the help that the user is getting actually reflects the system that they're using. Also, we have tons of translations in free software. I firmly believe that GNOME has the best translation teams in the world. We have, I think, over 40 languages fully supported in 2.30 and another 20 with partial support, and then plenty more that people are working on. In a proprietary commercial software environment, you tend to have translations for maybe half a dozen languages. Translations are difficult, and they're expensive, and they're very hard to make a business case for, especially languages that don't have a lot of potential paying customers. In free software, we don't have to make a business case. We just have to attract lots of enthusiastic users around the world. These technologies are also shaped by things that are happening in the professional user assistance world, the things that UA professionals are trying to do, the things that they're actually doing, and the things that they're asking their tool vendors to give them support for so they can do. And in free software, we don't have tool vendors. If we want to do something, we have to make our own tools. So the upshot is we get to create whatever we want. And the downside, of course, is that we have to create anything that we want. So first, for me, is Mallard. And this is kind of the basis for most of the stuff that I work on these days. Mallard is a topic-oriented help format. All of your topics are in individual page files. They're small. They contain just the information you need. So instead of having one long docbook file, you just have this collection of topics. And I'll show an example of Mallard using empathy. So this is the empathy help. I'll put it always on top. You can see you just have an index page here, and it has a collection of topics, links off to other information. You find something you need and click on it. But if we look at the XML source for this, see it has these sections here with the titles and IDs, but it doesn't actually contain any of those links. None of them are actually in the XML source for the index page here. So what's happening, if I go off to add a new account, that's one of our topics. If I pull up the XML for that, you see it has, all of the information here that it's telling you about. And then up in the header, it has this link type equals guide, xref equals index hash accounts. What's happening here is that instead of the index page explicitly saying, well, I link to this topic and this topic and this topic, the topics themselves insert themselves up into the index page. So this creates a very dynamic system where you can just drop extra pages into an existing document without patching any of the other files, and everything just gets picked up and goes into one navigational structure. And we also have see also links here. So there's this link type equals see also. And you can see this at the bottom of the page, remove an account. If I go to remove an account, it has a link back to add a new account. But that's not actually defined in here. Right? So the see also links are always reciprocal. They go both ways. And we have various other types of links. These are the big ones. But the links are always dynamic. They're affecting not just the page that's doing the linking, but the page that you're linking to. And this is what allows you to create a really dynamic system. This is important for our distro customizations. Our distros take GNOME and they extend it, and they need to extend the help to provide additional information. Well, what they can do with Mallard is just take our existing GNOME help and drop in help for any of the extra tools that they're providing. And it just gets picked up by Mallard, inserted into the navigational structure, and it appears as if it was there all along, just from the beginning. This is also really nice for plugin heavy applications. We now have Mallard-based help for Banshee, yes? All right, we have Mallard-based help for Banshee. Well, Banshee has a bunch of plugins that ship with it, and then it's got a bunch of plugins that are in a separate repository called Banshee Community Extensions. So what we can do with Mallard is we provide the base Banshee help, and then the Banshee Community Extensions, each of the extensions can have help topics relevant to that extension, and instead of having a separate help document for each little tiny extension, they just drop those pages into the main Banshee help. When you look at the Banshee help, you see all the tasks and troubleshooting information and everything you need to know about the Banshee interface you see in front of you, including all of the extensions. So the document, adapts to the material that's provided. Mallard's very intentionally simple. There are document languages with 200, 300, upwards of 420 elements. These things can be really off-putting to volunteer contributors, people who are coming in. They don't know a whole lot about tech writing, about writing documentation, but they really want to help. They want to get involved. And if you hit them with a really heavyweight format right at the beginning, it turns them away. So Mallard tries to keep things simple, tries to make things really make sense. But it also solves some real-world problems in fairly unique ways. I don't actually know of any other help systems or help authoring tools that are even trying to address these kinds of problems, because a lot of these problems are problems that are unique to the things that we have to do in free software. The other people creating help systems don't necessarily have those problems. Even though it's simple, it's also a very flexible system. So it's designed so that you can extend it through using elements from other XML namespaces. It has very well-defined behavior for when you can use that and how. It has some extension attributes. It doesn't shove these things in your face. It's very easy to use to begin with. You don't have to think about extending it, but you can do these extensions. And these allow us to build more tools on top of Mallard without breaking the base language, without making it more convoluted, and without breaking the existing tools. So one of these tools is Squawk. Now, Squawk is a library for embedding help content and linking to help content directly from your application and doing it dynamically from a Mallard document. So currently, if you create an application and you want to link to your help, you have a help menu, and it probably has an entry like contents, which isn't very useful. Maybe a dialog has a help button, and you have to specify the link target for this. You have to say where it's going. And then we change the help or do something else, and we have to pester the maintainers to change where these buttons are linking to. So with Squawk, I'll show a demo. What happens instead is that the application actually loads in a Squawk context, and what that does is it asynchronously pulls in a Mallard document and stores all of the information that it cares about, titles, links, that kind of stuff. And then it's then able to dynamically create the user interface elements that you would be using for help. So I have an example here of a button, and this is a very simple widget, and it's more about testing the document loading than the button itself. I'll just go ahead and bring up the document that this links to. So I have a document here. It's got an index page and these 3 topics on it. And the topics have been tagged using a tags attribute with their prime divisor, because I'm a math geek. So 2 is tagged with 2, 3 is tagged with 3, and 4 is tagged with 2. And what I have over here is a button. And this button was dynamically created by Squawk based on the information that's in the document. And these radio buttons are setting the tag that's being associated with this button. So you see if I go to 1, none of these pages are tagged with 1. The button's insensitive. If I go to 3, it says, well, okay, I know a page that's tagged with 3. Click the button, you get that. No big deal. If you go to 2, it says, well, I've actually got 2 pages that match that. So clicking the help button brings you a menu and says, well, here's a couple of topics you might be interested in, and you can go to those. So the help button is a really trivial example, but the idea is all of the help content can then be provided by the people writing the help, and they can decide where things go. So if you have an import dialog in your application, rather than finding the right section or the right page within the help for that dialog, you just tag it and you don't worry about it. You say, import dialog. That's what this button is. Help authors, it's your responsibility now. And then the people writing the help say, well, I've got a topic here that describes that dialog, so I'll tag it with that. Now it shows up. And maybe they find another topic that's a high-level kind of task description on how to import your media, and they tag that one as well. So that's under the control of your help authors. Going beyond this, the next step is to then create a help menu. So currently we have help menus that look like this. It's not very descriptive. Contents doesn't really mean a whole lot. So what we can do, since we've actually loaded in all the information from the documentation, is we can dynamically construct that help menu with relevant pages that you're hopefully interested in right now. And all of that without pestering any of the developers to change which menu items are in there. What we can also do is provide a search field in there. So if you use Yelp right now, there's this quick search feature. As you type it, brings down this little pop-up of pages that match it. So the idea is to actually just bring that directly into the help menu, rather than going off and opening up Yelp and doing the search and getting this drop-down, which is convenient. Just put the search field directly within the help menu. So you click help, you start typing something you're interested in. The help menu is dynamically repopulated with things that are matching what you're asking for. And then going beyond that, bring this in and providing more onboard help. So transient help things, if there's an option you don't understand in a preferences dialog and you are afraid of it and want to know what the heck it is, you call up help for that. And instead of bringing up Yelp, just showing a small help blurb, 3 sentences, very transient, nothing that you have to really interact with. If it's not enough, you can click a link from there and open up Yelp and get the 3-paragraph description. So trying to take this content and bring it more to the application and less in a dedicated help viewer, but still actually pulling all of that information from the malware documentation where the help authors are under control of it. And I'm going to skip past this without talking too much. Widgeon, I don't have anything to demo, but it's the same idea of Squawk, but more for websites and web applications. So taking malware documentation and building out a help system that can be used and embedded into a web application. So it's not just a GNOME technology. These things can be used elsewhere. Are there any questions on any of those? Okay. So finally, just want to give a few tips on how to write well. And I can't give you an entire course on English composition today. I have 5 minutes. But what I can do is just give you a couple of tips that I think help to do good technical writing, and good technical writing in a free software community like ours. So first, know your audience. What are their expectations? What are their experiences? What are their attitudes and behaviors? As I talked about earlier with why people use help and how that influences how we write it, this is important. If you don't know your audience, you don't know who you're writing to, and you're just providing some content that may or may not actually be useful, it's actually really hard to know who your audience is, especially with a desktop environment like GNOME. Our audience is potentially everybody. Everybody uses a desktop. So what you sometimes have to do is pick an audience. And when you do that, you have to stick to your audience. I've read documentation before that in one section explains to the user what a web browser is. And this is useful for some people. There's actually a lot of people that don't know what a web browser is. But then 2 sections later, it tells you how to configure your firewall using command line tools. These are 2 completely different groups of people that it's being written to. Now, I do think, though, with topic-oriented help, you can cater to a wider audience. So you can provide 80% of your topics that are focused at kind of a middle-of-the-road audience in terms of experience. But then you can provide more advanced topics, and if people are interested, they can go to those as long as they're clearly labeled so that you don't completely screw up the beginners by shoving that in their face. And then you can also provide some more hand-holding topics for people who need that information. 2, you can't write without a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're just rambling. You're doing a brain dump. You're putting down all the information you know. It might be complete, but it's not going to be useful. It's going to be very difficult to find information. Users aren't really going to enjoy reading the documentation. I think planning is easier with topic-oriented. And I say that about everything because I like topic-oriented help. I don't think that topic-oriented help involves less planning. In fact, I think it involves more planning. But I think the planning is easier because with a manual, with a book, you need to do a lot of planning up front. It's difficult to rearrange things in a book. You can, right? We can copy and paste and move things around, but you have to be very careful of what you've written. In a book, it's very common to write something like, as you read earlier. And you should just never put a sentence like that into topic-oriented help because you don't get to assume that they've read anything else except the word before. So with topic-oriented help, as you're writing, as you're looking it over, it's easy to add something to another category, remove something from a category, completely reorganize the document to better reflect what you think is more useful as you get more experience with the document. So it might be more planning, but you can replan as you go. And I think that makes it more easy and a little more fun. Finally, have fun. There are a lot of tech writers, professional tech writers, that think tech writing is boring. Maybe it is. They went to school for English and hope to be a novelist or a travel writer. It's fantastic. I like novelists and travel writers. But they got themselves a day job doing tech writing and they despise it. So they're bored and dry. And as a consequence, the stuff that they write is boring and dry. Users can tell if you don't enjoy what you're doing. So if you don't really enjoy yourself doing this, you're going to end up writing very dry, boring material that's not fun to read, and that's where we get all of our stereo instructions from. I don't know how to make people like writing. I enjoy it. I think it's fun. I have just one thing that I like to keep in perspective, and I think it makes everything more fun, more enjoyable. And that's the primary reason for doing all of this is to help the users. It's nice to get recognition. It's nice to build your resume. But at the end of the day, your first motivation to create good help always has to be helping the users. And I think that with that in perspective, it's a lot more easy to enjoy what you're doing. Yeah?
Having fun. I kind of, when writing all this technical documentation, I find hard to find my voice because it does feel, I might want to write a poem or maybe write a haiku. I don't know, it's like, my question would be really, can you maybe elaborate on the having fun part of it? Or how you yourself enjoy it, which parts of writing you enjoy? Maybe that's a good example.
Well, I think, and there are times that you really just want to write a poem or some haiku, and doing tech writing is not going to be a substitute for that. And there's no problem with setting your tech writing aside and going and writing something else, right? Those things are fun too. I enjoy, the things that keep it fun and fresh for me. I like our community. I like the people I'm working with. Sitting alone and writing, okay. Doing a collaborative planning session with Phil and Milo and Paul, love it. It's a lot of fun. I don't know. It's something that I actually find enjoyable, and I find that if you try to write like a tech writer, or if you try to write instructions, you try to write very dry, stare instructions. I think the more dry your writing is, the less likely it is to be fun. So I think we always try to keep a kind of casual, informal voice, not oh hey guys, check out this feature, but still casual, as if you're actually talking to somebody, right? A lot of manuals and stuff are written in a very formal language, and I don't think anyone enjoys writing language like that. So if you keep the language more casual, I think it keeps it more fun.
Okay, yes, Phil. Regarding the collaboration part, I agree that that'd be most fun, because I think in practicality, like if you're a maintainer of some little module, then you just, there are not many people I can share my technical, the documentation of the application itself, just because there are maybe not so many users, and the ones who are, I don't trust their English.
Right.
As such, so what's the procedure in GNOME? Like, would I be sending to GNOME.please.conf for review?
Yeah. And I try not to worry too much about not trusting people's English. So as a writer, I could, be very picky about grammar and spelling and everything. And these things are, writing with good grammar and all of that is good. And there's aspects of good style. You can have an awkward sentence construction. In a community like ours, we're getting contributions from a lot of people who are not native English speakers, right? And there's a temptation when, say, running a documentation project to really just demand perfection of everything before it gets committed. Your language has to be perfect here and there. And I don't think it's necessary. And I think it hardens the process. And I don't think it's necessarily all that useful to users. Obviously more well-written material is better to read, but something where the language is maybe a little bit awkward or something because the writer wasn't a native English speaker is still far better than having nothing. And you keep the contributors.
It's harder to write than it is to edit.
Yeah.
So it's better for us to get raw documentation that we can help with than nothing at all. So I don't mind editing docs at all. I use that as a break from writing docs. It's
right.
refreshing.
And I will, I'll go through and we request reviews and stuff, and I'll go through and review things, and I'll make some stylistic edits. But I don't, require a formal procedure where it has to pass through me first to be, to be accepted, because, well, first of all, I'm a terrible bottleneck, and nothing would ever get through me, and second, it puts people off, and it makes it not fun for them, and in a volunteer community like ours. If it's not fun, it's not going to last. People aren't going to stick around. So.
And the docs team is fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
One question came up with me. If the documentation team writes a documentation for application X and use this topic-oriented help system you demonstrated, personally, I like it a lot. But say that there's dynamically generated help menu, then there you have aspects of the application that the developer is no longer in control over. Do you think that would be a problem for some people?
I've not pushed Squawk around much yet because I have the document loading and a button working right now. I can't go off to maintainers right now and say, do your dialog button with this. I have talked to a couple of people about it, just the ideas behind it. And so far, the developers I've talked to have been very receptive to it. They seem perfectly okay with doing that. I don't think they want to care about their help menu. I think they're happy to let us do it. So.
With regards to translation of documentation, do you think it's important that you don't modify documentation too much, so it's constantly getting breaking translation?
Yes. And it would be fantastic if we could implement some sort of documentation freeze so that translators actually stand some chance It's hard though because the translators are working down to the wire. We give them a freeze on the user interface strings, and all the maintainers are supposed to be doing is fixing bugs and doing polish, and they shouldn't have to add new strings to do that kind of stuff most of the time. And so the translators get that period of time to work on the translations. The thing is that the people writing the documentation, we're also working down to the wire. We can't really start finalizing things until feature freeze because anything could change out from underneath us. So it's really hard for us if we did a documentation freeze as of the normal UI string freeze. There's no way we could write anything. It's not possible. But I mean, I would like to at least get maybe a week before, or maybe even. We've discussed, we do mark our documents as with the review statuses, and with some automated trackers in place, we could mark documents as final, so it's kind of an opt-in freeze. And so it's at least a message to the translators that the documentation team considers this document or these pages of this document to be done. So that's a good thing to start with because we're not going to change it out from underneath you, right? I don't know what the best solution is. It's a hard problem, but I mean, we all want a solution.
Yeah, another thing, of course, is every cycle you change your features.
Uh-huh.
And small like typos and grammar. And I feel like when I make changes, I'm completely screwing up the translations in the process. And so I'm trying to think, well, what's more important, having lots of well-translated documentation,
right,
or having all the details done?
Yeah, and I think there's a balancing point. I think we have in the past. At least after the stable releases, where we're going into the 0.1 and 0.2 releases, we have held off on adding things before at that point, where we didn't consider it to be really that important enough. I do think that if the documentation is just wrong, translation of wrong documentation is still wrong. So there's no sense in not breaking it, not breaking the translations at that point. There's no point in having translated wrong documentation. But if you're talking about adding, some extra tips or an extra keyboard reference or something like that, something that really can just wait until the next cycle, maybe wait until the next cycle. So, anything else? Okay. Thank you.
Just a last reminder, tonight there is canonical party at 8 in Le Paris, and if you need help on how to go there, you can ask at the desk.
I'll get the present.
I told him to request it at the desk.
But it's nicer to give it.
Yeah, because but that's what was.